Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. This is going to be a short review of the Morpheus II by Raijintek, which is a GPU cooler which you can custom add to your graphics card. I decided to make this review just as a bit of a documentation for myself. I find when you complete something, it's best if you can kind of summarize it all into like a debrief of what you've done, and that kind of helps cement it in your own mind for the process you took and the things you've learned. And also just for anyone out there that is kind of considering maybe doing something similar, you can look at this and get some ideas. So you can see there my desktop, which is pretty out of date by today's standards. It was built in 2016 and it's running a motherboard which has a socket for the 1150 CPU model, which means it won't take anything past the 4th generation, I believe it is, of like Intel processors. So it's pretty out of date, but for what I'm using it for, it still seems to run pretty good for the games and the programs I'm running. And I recently had an injury where I wasn't able to walk for the best part of like 3 months. So I've kind of been locked in an ivory tower here, and in that time I pretty much pulled my PC to pieces and just cleaned it really good, got rid of all that dust, and then just slowly started throwing money at it, buying stuff off eBay. So like I got all new RAM, got a new CPU cooler, what else did I do? I bought a new graphics card and then another one, and so the latest one I got was the Gigabyte GTX 1080 8 gig off eBay, which I picked up for $250, and it was a step up from the 6 gig I was running. And I've plugged it in and it all seemed to run pretty well, but as soon as I started running Witcher 3, it was running really good, and then I took off my headphones and I went, holy shit, and it sounded like there was a jet engine in my desktop. And then I checked the temperature on MSI Afterburner, and it was running at like 82 degrees C, which was a bit scary. So I thought, is this card a dud? And then I looked up some reviews online and found that no, these cards just tend to run really loud and really hot. And so I thought, I'll try and clean it and put on some new paste, because it was, it didn't have any warranties or anything. So I thought, fuck it, new paste might be able to sort out the heating, and a bit of a clean might help. So I pulled it all apart, and you can see that first here, it's got, the paste was just totally burnt out and nothing, and the pads, the cooling pads, the thermal pads were cactus, and it was just full of dust. So I cleaned it all out. I got some new paste on there, and then I bought some 120 fans, which you can see them here. Right, yeah, Fantex M25 120s to mount onto the radiator, because I wanted to get rid of those pissy little fans in the shroud that they just seemed like they wouldn't be blowing a lot of air. So I actually found it a bit difficult to get them mounted on there, so I ended up making a little bracket, which you can see here, out of MDF, which wasn't my ideal choice, but it was kind of the only stuff I had handy to use. So I used a little bracket and mounted that on there with some clips, which was a bit creative. I kind of had to figure out and bend those clips in different ways to get them to actually hang on there. And yeah, repasted it, fired that up, and it did drop the temperature. I think it was dropped down to like 70-ish running Witcher, but the fans still had to run at like 60%, so they were super loud still. So I thought, fuck it. I had done some research and found this aftermarket cooler you can mount to a GPU, and Raijintek was like the only people that still created these aftermarket coolers. It seems like they were a bit of a rage a few years ago, and now they've all kind of been discontinued. But you could still get this off Amazon for, I think this was $200 delivered. Yeah. So I've watched a whole bunch of reviews about how to get this sucker mounted, and it all seemed pretty straightforward. And so you can see here somewhere. Let's just fucking close all of that shit and open this up. Yeah. Oh no, sorry, that's not it. Is it this one? Nope. Is it this one? Nope. This one. Yeah. Alright, so here you can see, yeah, I've mounted the cooler to the GPU, and I've managed to get those 120 fans mounted on there as well. Yeah, so there you go. So it was pretty straightforward, you know, you just, there's a little bracket in there which you're going to mount to the GPU cooler, and then everybody online was saying you had to actually remove your backplate, which I didn't really want to do because I kind of liked having that hard bit of surface on the card left that you could like grab, and it kind of gave it some rigidity, and it just like looks nicer as well, in my opinion. So I wanted to leave that on there, and it turns out, yeah, at least with this model you can just reuse your screws that come out of the GPU, and yeah, they just bite into the bracket that mounts to the GPU cooler, and yeah, you can leave your plate on there. So that's fine. And some people were saying like you can't use 120mm fans, but yeah, you totally can. You just need to mount it, like you can see here, it's mounted flush on this side so that the card can still clip into your motherboard, and then they like overhang the other side a little bit. So mounting it was a little bit tricky. I had to use two different types of brackets. So you can see on one side there's like what are they? They're the ones I ordered off eBay for the first build, and then I used the brackets that they send with your GPU cooler. But I actually had to, you can see I've put some screws in there from the fans to space it out a bit so it actually had the tension to hold it to the cooler. So that was a bit of a custom job there. So that was a little bit of fun figuring that out. But yeah, you figure it out. It's pretty easy. And so yeah, and then what else? The other thing you need to get this job done is a few cords. Yeah, so you're gonna want to get a fan adapter, which you can see here. It's the PWM fan adapter for a GPU, and that just allows the GPU to run the fans, so you don't have to plug the fans into a header on your motherboard. The GPU software can run the fans, and you can use something like Afterburner to set a fan curve if you want, or just let it do its own thing. Oh yeah, the heat sinks they give to you. Everyone was saying that the tape they give you is just really shit and they fall off. So I just used some leftover thermal pads that I had from the first D-Shroud and mod, and they seem to work pretty good. You just gotta figure out, there's like some small ones and some big ones, so I mainly used the small ones around the what do they call it, the die, the GPU die, because the big ones were hitting the pipes on the cooler. Yeah, so pretty straightforward. Stick them on with some pads, and yeah, they seem to be alright. They're not falling off yet. So yeah. And then what else? Yeah, you need that, and you need a splitter cable. Yeah, so you're gonna want to plug that adapter cable into a splitter, and then it can run both the fans at the same time. And the only other thing I used was so I just daisy chained the RGB cords together, and then because my system's pretty old, it doesn't have an RGB header on the motherboard, so you can get a controller, which you can see here. Yeah, 5 volt 3 pin Aura RGB controller, and it picks up your inputs for your RGB wherever they are coming from. So mine was originally from the CPU fan, and then they just plug into a SATA power, which you'll have, in your system. Hopefully you've got a spare one somewhere. And yeah, just daisy chained them all together, and so they all run. The GPU and the CPU fans are all hooked to that. Yeah, and so that's about the nuts of the process of it all. And so now I'll show you some footage of it mounted in the desktop, and you can see the temperature and the frames per second. Well, yeah, I guess the frames aren't really important because that's more to do with the GPU, but the temperature, that's the main thing, and also like how loud it is, because that was really a big reason of why I wanted to lower the temp so the fans wouldn't be so loud. You could get some like quiet fans, but I was looking, and like the quiet fans don't seem to pump as much air, so I was a bit concerned about, like, if they're not pumping as much air, would it still be raising up the temperature? So yeah, I didn't opt for the quieter ones, but it was something I was going to think about if these were still too goddamn loud. So yeah, that's it for this installment, and I will talk to you shortly with the next part of the Schlim Schlam for the Jim Jam. Alright, adios. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. You can see I've got the Witcher 3 fired up here. So this is the game that pretty much inspired me to get this GPU cooler. Yeah, so you can see on the left there's some stats there, which is just like the Windows game readout thing. Yeah, so it looks like it's pulling like 34 frames per second, which isn't huge, but it seems alright. Like, this is 1080p, it's running, all the settings are maxed to Ultra Plus. The only thing that's not on is the NVIDIA Hairworks, and also that lighting thing. I forget what they call it. But yeah, if you try and turn on To be honest, the hair works seems alright. Like, it does work, but like, I don't know, I just don't bother with it. I don't think it adds that much. But the lighting thing, if you try and turn that on, it just, yeah, it doesn't run. So that's just a sign of the times with the card, I suppose. But I mean, this seems to look pretty good. I'm pretty, you know, I'm pretty happy with how this looks. It's enough. It's enough for me anyway. Yeah, this is a really good game. I really enjoyed playing Witcher 3. I'm not really that into like online gaming and like first-person shooters that much. Like, the furthest I've kind of gone with that kind of stuff is like Gears of War on the Xbox, which I thought that was pretty fun, but that was kind of like, that did have online, but I still kind of just preferred the story mode and like multiplayer with, like, if I could get someone to play with me at home, that was kind of what I preferred. But yeah, this game was sweet. The dialogue was really good. I really enjoyed the witches, those 3 evil witches that were just like super fucked up, and like the graphics on them were really good. And the monsters in this are pretty good. Some of them were like genuinely pretty scary. Yeah, I think there was like one that like, oh sorry, here's the readout. So there's 39 degrees C, and you can see the fans running at 20%. So that's pretty good. You know, this was, like I said, this was maxing out at like 82 degrees when I first got this card. So to get it down to 40, I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, I mean, that's fucking awesome. And yeah, like I said, until I put this cooler on, it was still running at like 70 with the, and that was even with these new fans. Yeah. Yeah, and so here's this. This is the. This is so you can hear the sound of the system. So you can see I've got it fired up there, and this is just audio. So you can probably hear me breathing a bit, but yeah, and you can hear there's like not a lot of sound coming out of that at all. Like, it's very little. I can't hear much at all. Yeah, and so there's those damn brackets with the screws that I use to space them out. And yeah, so there you have it. Witcher 3 from 82 degrees down to what's it say there? Yeah, it usually holds about 39 to 40 playing. So yeah, there's that. And I'm going to fire up another game in a sec for you to look at, which runs a bit harder. So I'll get that going for you in just a minute. Alright, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back again. So you can see on the display here, this is a game called Atomic Heart. And like I said, this seems to push the card a little bit harder than The Witcher 3. So I thought this might be interesting to include, because you can kind of get a bit of a gauge at how much it's going to affect that noise and the temperature. So yeah, I've got the readout there for you. You can see this is pulling 46 frames per second, and it's been interesting. This game seems like it can pull a bit more. Sometimes it goes up to like as high as 140 at times, which is interesting. So yeah, this has been a pretty interesting game. I initially got interested in this because it was said to be similar to kind of like a cross between Bioshock and Fallout, I think. And those are two games that I really quite liked. Fallout 4, I haven't played any of the ones prior to that, and Bioshock, the original one. I really liked Bioshock. That game was super creepy. Man, the spider splicers used to freak me out, especially at night with like it just cranked up to 11 at home by yourself, just playing that in the dead of night. Those spider splicers would come for you. Oh man, that was creepy. But I really liked the like the the Art Nouveau, I think it is, like the 1920s kind of style, and then like the 1950s style of Fallout. Like I really dig those kind of vintage styles, and this has an element of that 50s kind of style in it as well. This is set in like the future, but it's kind of like a dystopian future. I'm not very far into it, but I think it's like Russia kind of became like the superpower, and they've introduced like robotics to a lot of stuff, so there's like robots everywhere, and they end up someone like turns them against people, and they've just pretty much tried to kill everyone. And then to be honest, I don't really know what's going on in this game yet, but you're just trying to, you're like an agent, and you're trying to, I don't know, trying to bring it back to, oh yeah, here we go. Yep, so there you go, 44C, and I think that says 28%. So yeah, it does push it a bit harder, but you know, 5 degrees doesn't seem like much, and on the Nvidia app it's kind of shows that this is a lot more demanding, so, but it seems to look pretty good. So this is all maxed out at Ultra Plus, except for obviously those things I mentioned earlier, and 1080p, and yeah, I guess this is a first-person shooter. I know I said I don't really like first-person shooters, but I kind of meant in a more like online kind of way. Like I actually like playing games like Fallout and this first-person shooter for sure. But I just kind of like to do it either like, you know, in the story mode, or if I've got someone in person that's gonna kind of co-op with me. That's kind of how I prefer to play. So yeah, 45 degrees and 28% on the fans, and I'll also just bring in a sec some audio so you can hear that system, the sound of the system we're just running to. Alright, so this is going to be the audio, an example of the audio of the system when it's running this. So yeah, you can see it's still got the same stats, 100% on the GPU, about 52 frames per second. And what do we got, like 45 degrees C and 20, yeah, still 28% on the fans. So let's have a listen to the actual desktop. Yeah, and so there you go. It's really quiet in there, which is sweet. It's just so much better. Alrighty, so that brings us to the end of this review of the Morpheus II by Raijintek. If you made it to the end, well done. And yeah, I actually enjoyed making this video. It was nice to just kind of look back on the process that I took to get here, and you know, I'm not a computer whiz by any means. So you know, if I can do it, you can too. And anyone out there that, you know, it's probably pretty slim nowadays that someone's going to try and do something like this. But if you are, and this helps you make a decision or get some ideas, you know, that's great. That's pretty cool. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching it. I had a bit of fun putting this together, and I got to use some of my artwork and some of the things I've made to make this. So that was pretty fun in itself as well. So yeah, alrighty. Thank you all, and maybe I'll see you in the next one. Alright.